our Chancellor of Germany, Cate Blanchett. And our co-directors, Galen Johnson, Johnson, and Maddin.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys seem to enjoy that. I usually like to start with the sort of most obvious beginning question, which is where the original idea from the film came from. But I realized in asking that, I kind of want to ask the three directors how you work together, because you also co-wrote the screenplay, and I don't know if one of you comes up with an idea or you just sit around and like brainstorm. So
we do sit around a lot. Yeah, we have an office. We just have three like old shitty easy chairs that we sit in a circle and try and make each other laugh, and then come up with the structure of the thing, and then Evan goes off and writes it.
So do you remember the inciting brainstorming, sitting around at which this idea emerged?
Yeah, well, we sort of, when we were asked how do three directors work together, I know often people are asking on the set, how does that work? But we're just involved together from the beginning to the end. And
not sexually.
No. Sometimes, yeah, some sort of angry sort of jailhouse kind of arrangement. Things get pretty hot in the writer's room. We spend too much time together. What was I going to say? We spend most of our time writing and trying to think of movies, and just a tiny little percentage of our lives is spent shooting. So we've got a million things going, and we have a bad habit of never throwing things out. So we had a number of scripts that were, if anyone remembers the Manhattan phone books, they were really thick scripts, and the G7 would be a tiny subplot in a Pynchon, like the complete Pynchon thick thing, and then we started throwing these things out, but when we started a new script again, the G7 subplot would get a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger, and finally we threw everything out except for the G7. Just thought that's something, that there aren't enough G7 movies.
Now there are.
Yeah, there's just...
Too many, perhaps.
Yeah. One too many. And then, we shoot the breeze, have a story, and Evan went into, for this time, it's different each project, but Evan went into kind of a flow state and produced huge reams of dialogue, and the thing kind of got written quickly.
And then when it comes to casting and approaching the actors about participating, are you sending them the full script, or just having a meeting and saying, G7, it's going to be like summer camp? What's the... Yeah, if you could talk a little bit, or the actors can talk a little bit about how they...
We let you read the script, right?
Yeah, once.
Yeah.
I got the full script. Did you get the full script?
You got naked pictures of you guys.
We had one person in mind. Roy Dupuis plays our Prime Minister, Canadian Prime Minister. We'd worked with him before on a movie called The Forbidden Room, and we just had him in mind the whole way. And it got scary for us when we realized we hadn't told him we were writing anything for him, and we just couldn't imagine anyone else. And for a while there, it seemed like he couldn't do the project, and we just sat around. Wouldn't do the project. Yeah, didn't want to do it. Just refused to do it. Anyway, so it didn't look like he was going to want to do it, and we just sat around in dumb. This is before I'd ever talked to Cate. It seemed like we would just fold it because he's the only person in Canada we felt. There's great actors in Canada, but for this part, it was written for him, you know. And then, but he did come around. I think he said he had some dreams about making love to bog mummies or something like that, and that he woke up compelled to do the movie. He just speaks his mind. And then Ari Aster helped connect, you know, he's become a good friend. He's executive producer on this. He helped connect the two people on my right with the project. And then the casting got momentum, and then we just got everyone we wanted for the project. Everybody in the movie is the person we wanted. Even the little German guy who drives the van was sort of our first choice, and etc. Yeah. Charles Dance we wanted because we needed an American president to be very presidential, and no one is more presidential than Charles Dance. But we also needed him to be very British, and there's no one more British than Charles Dance. And he is a lovely man, and he pulled me aside and he said he'd always wanted to work with Cate, and so
he also pulled you aside and said if he gets asked another question about why he has a British accent in the movie, he's gonna fucking kill you.
That was the second time he pulled me aside. I was getting really tired of that. It was baked into the script that the American president have a British accent. It just was. In the writer's room, we
The first idea we had.
Yeah, it was the first, maybe not the best, but it was the first idea, and we never questioned it with each other. We never explained why.
We all
Why should
questioned
it be
it.
British? No, it was questioned at every corner by financiers and the state funding bodies in Canada. You should do that. And we just said, what are you talking about? Come on, trust us. And, I'm really glad we did it. And we still don't know why.
I'm curious to talk about to the actors about how you approach the tone of the film, and whether you just I was just wondering what it seems like such a delicate balance between playing it straight and playing it to this heightened emotional undertone of the movie. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Denis?
Hey guys, did you like the film? I guess it's all in the writing, really, and the visions of those three guys. And because of Cate, we couldn't do it, so it was really fun. And but the writing and the jokes are incredible. So you just have to learn your lines, show up on time, get ready to be wheeled in a wheelbarrow, covered in mud, at night for 6 weeks. And voila.
But I must say, I was surprised that you guys wanted us to rehearse. That did take me by surprise. And I think that was partly to do with the tone. Like, you think there'd be a lot of improvisation, and of course there is kind of physically and stuff emerged in the rehearsal, but the script was, you ironed every single syllable of every single word out. It was very deliberate. And I think part of that rehearsal process was to make sure that everyone was on the same page tonally, you know.
Yeah, we thought, you know, maybe if you rehearse, you'll get to know each other and like each other or something, and you'll direct each other.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of what happened. Because every one of you this must be common on movies, real movies, I don't know what I know. But I'm just grateful when people memorize the lines, you know. But you guys each have a different approach to your craft, and I don't talk much about your approaches, but you can just see it. And Denis, for example, I'm so in awe of what he does. He just really, you don't ask him to do anything on there, on the screen. He does it because it comes from inside. And so he was doing things like, you know, at the end, he's proposing Europe's largest sundial. He wrote and he's a gorgeous writer. He wrote an essay on sundials to prepare himself for the role, and that's sort of, and it
Sorry.
shows. But he also did things for some sort of labor regulation, even though it didn't look very dangerous. The wheelbarrow, he wasn't allowed to ride in the wheelbarrow. A Floppy, named Floppy, a dummy, had to go in the wheelbarrow. And Floppy was not a great actor, and it was just in case the wheelbarrow tipped over and then he skinned his head or hit his head on a rock or something. But what we appreciated after watching the rushes and the editing process was that Floppy was kind of terrible, but whenever it cut back to Denis was imitating Floppy. Terrible with the
Floppy was my body double,
Yeah.
and it was a Muppet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you sold the dummy by acting
More like the dumb.
down to it.
What do you mean?
No, but I mean,
You would sit there sometimes with this look on your face just for long. Because you were trying to look like.
And we would do a rehearsal, and it would be great, and then we'd be like, okay, let's get the dummy out of there and get Denis in there, but it was Denis in the rehearsal.
it was already we were already mistaking him. But I don't know. He's incredible. But everyone was a little bit different. And I learned to appreciate, say, Rolando Ravello, the Italian Prime Minister, and Takahiro Hira, because we just covered the hell out of this movie with, and so sometimes there'd be a scene that's 7 minutes long or whatever, and the camera's just on someone who doesn't have a line of dialogue, but they're just listening. And I would just watch that monitor of Takahiro or Rolando just listening, and their ears were making the dialogue play even better. They were somehow detailing the syllables. I don't know, I guess it was middle of the night. But it seemed to be improving even more the performance of the off-screen person talking somehow. I just really appreciated that. Everyone.
I wanted to ask you about the filming style, because I think many of your other films are influenced by classic cinema or silent cinema, and this seemed to be coming from a different place that fit the topic. But
yeah, I felt with The Forbidden Room 2015 that we'd sort of reached the logical conclusion of fetishizing and sucking all possible flavors out of Decasia and film emulsion too. Credit Bill Morrison for that great term. And here we had this script that that came about in a flow state of Evans, and there was just no possible way we could justify shooting it as an homage to silent cinema or golden age Hollywood or anything. So we just decided, and that the movie needed to start really grounded in reality with sort of a flag-flapping palettes in the production design in the early goings, the daylight stuff where they're all collecting themselves in the gazebo, and then as the sun sets in this single night drama like Dazed and Confused or American Graffiti or Midsummer Night's Dream or whatever, that things could get a little bit strange, but it would be coming from something grounded in like this. We watched a lot of CNN and YouTube clips and things like that of just G7 summits, just to see how they looked and felt, and we got that.
did the two performers, did you watch a lot of political television, or did you just create your...
Oh no, too much. We can't unsee it. It's terribly awkward. I mean, every year, or every other year, whenever it is, the G7 meets, they meet and they have these sort of shared cultural experiences that are bound by the place, the host country, that are very strange and awkward and staged, and then they have a theme. And I think it's so appropriate. I wish, what was going on at the other end of town was, had the same thing, which is regret. It seemed like we were filming a documentary a lot of time. But that sort of long distance photography, the footage that we were watching, because we couldn't hear what they were saying, because of course it was all,
They weren't
not meant for public consumption. But you realise they shared this same awkward sort of gestural language that they'd been coached into. They'd lost any sense of sort of natural movement. And so it was really deeply awkward.
It's almost silent cinema.
Yeah.
It was our chance to go back to silent cinema. Yeah.
So really there is a reference to silent cinema in the end. Unfortunately, we have little time here tonight because we're approaching the midnight hour, but so we're going to end it here, but I want to thank you again
Thanks
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
That's a really nice